So greetings everyone in the ignition month of July 2023, which is a very special month when we celebrate the life of St. Ignatius of Loyola. I'm here with Father Eddie Murphy. Father Eddie Murphy has been involved in many works. He's a member of the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, and originally from Ireland, and he has been a Jesuit missionary for many, many years.
I was born in the west of Ireland, in a small town, and grew up there until I went for a secondary school in another part of the country. I have had a very good family upbringing. My family were very peaceful and very united. And my own story of my vocation as a priest, that came to me when I was in primary school, and it has never left me since. I never had a struggle, and I never questioned. It seemed to me to be the most natural thing that happens to me. When I went to a secondary school, I was in a Jesuit secondary school, and I joined the Jesuits. I wanted to be a priest, and the one I knew best were my teachers, and so I joined them. So that was my background from where I started my early life.
We have some materials here that show Jesuits. Okay, the Jesuits. So for those of us who may be wondering who the Jesuits are, the Jesuits were actually started by St. Ignatius of Loyola, and we're in the ignition month of July, the month when we celebrate, St. Ignatius. Been a Jesuit for how long?
I've been a Jesuit since 1956.
Wow.
So that's 60-something years now. And I never look back, and I never doubt it. But that's my story.
Yeah.
Each person, each Jesuit has their own story.
Yes.
My story is that I wanted to be a priest, and the only priests I knew were the Jesuits, and so I became a Jesuit, and that brought me a long distance around the world.
Yeah.
So in my own story, I did come out to Zambia in 1964, but when Jesuits come out as missionaries, they expect that they will stay forever. I don't mean that I will stay forever, but that the Jesuits will stay forever. Because when we come to a place and set up our own house and begin to work for the church, we are also interested in attracting other young men to join us, so that they too would be able to carry on the work. So at one stage in my life, I was involved in training the young Zambians, and I set up a library to help not only the young men, but to help our own missionaries. One of the reasons why I set up a library was that the time I came to Zambia was independence, which was a time of tremendous change, and all kinds of new ways of doing things and all kinds of new outlooks had to be developed and grown. So it was a time of great challenge for personal change, and so a library would be essential for that. The second reason was that just around this very same time, the Catholic Church had called together all its 3,000 bishops, and they met over a period of 4 years in Rome, and what we call today the Second Vatican Council, to try and get the Church to adapt itself to the modern world. And that meant a lot of changes and a lot of examining oneself of the best way of going about things. So for both of those reasons, the library was a very valuable instrument for our own men. Now, when I was doing that, I had no idea where it would lead me, because it would lead me a long, long way. Having set up the library for our own Jesuits, we were about 100 men in the country, and in the time of great change, of post-independence and post-Vatican II, and the churches, the Mass and all the ceremonies in the church were now all in the local language. A whole new world opened up with insertion into a new culture, a new language. So it was a time of having to be creative and time to reflect and think about how to adapt. But what happened to me was precisely because I had built a library. We were setting up our own program for training young men throughout the whole of Africa. And we were going to set up a house in Kenya for the training of the final stage of training, which is theology, which is mostly about the study of the Bible and how to be a priest. But they needed a librarian. And so I spent 20 years in Nairobi helping to build up the library in Hekima College. And that I would never have imagined in my life. And my journey continued, because after that I was sent to Zimbabwe, again with a new college being set up, this time for philosophy, which is a study of humanities and literature and history. It's a groundwork training for a Jesuit. And I was there 16 years. So this setting up of this library that we're now sitting in resulted in me spending 36 years outside of Zambia.
So thank you for joining us, and Father Eddie Murphy is showing us a bit about the library here, and maybe if we go back in history, how did it start? Do you remember the time of the years? It's been just many years.
Yes, about 1979. Okay. I was interested in getting together books for our missionaries, because of the great need to keep ongoing training and ongoing reflection, because of all the changes in the country and because of all the changes in the church. So that was the origin of this library. Okay. It was in order to help the local Jesuits here to continue their own reading and their own reflection on the Christianity, so that they would be able to cope with the changes of the modern world. It's also located in our novitiate. That's a place where the early Jesuit begins his training. So it's a good foundation for them as well.
Okay. All right. As you can see, I'm also putting on my old Jesuit t-shirt. This one I always used to put it on for Jesuit communications. And even the times when I used to come and take photos for festivals, I always used to put it on. So you can see. Thank you. So Father is showing us a bit. Okay. All right. So there's a lot of work that was going on here. Yeah. Okay.
And this has continued to grow and expand all the years that I was outside. But I still recognize an awful lot of the books that I handled myself.
Okay.
But it goes back to our desire, not only that we would keep our own reading and own reflection to be up with the changes in the world, but also for our young men who are going to take on the baton. The old men, the old missionaries are coming to the end, have come to the end of their time. It's up now to the young Zambians and the young Malawians and the young Mozambicans and the young Zimbabweans to continue that as Jesuits. And that's what this library is about.
But also for the lay people, like myself, I was in communications in Zambia, Malawi, and I'm no longer there. So I'm sure the lay people are also involved in these works. And we continue to encourage them to also continue collaborating and being involved to push